The Road Between the Hills. The Road Between the Hills is a history writing in the first person about a boy who was on vacation and likes to visit interesting buildings, such as church located in the town of Melbourne. The story begins when the young man arrives at the town and finds a sign that says Church Street. For what they thought, the church was somewhere of that street, but after the moment, the young man realized he was lost. Later, a woman helped him find the church he was looking for. She invited him to her house, and in her house there was a room in which there was a very large photograph that illustrated hills and some hills. The young man asked the woman that exactly where's Melbourne's church was, and the woman gave him a paper on which a map was drawn, in which the young man realized that the church was south of the town. He followed the path of that map until I arrived at a place that was not exactly the church. Suddenly, a person appeared and took a picture and ran away. The photographer was the woman who helped him and what gave him the wrong address. Shortly after, the young man returned to town while talking with the owner of a place where he was staying. He told him that many people take the wrong path to that church since of the end of the street. When they asked for help, that woman gives a wrong address. He did this since years ago he lost his son in a car accident on the train line, and the false direction he gave people led them to the place when it happened years ago. From the accident, she took pictures of tourists in that place since it reminded him of his son. Since that accident, she lies alone. The next day, the young man wanted to say goodbye to the woman at home, but she was asleep, so she decided not to say goodbye and walked away. Moral: when we are tourists, we have to look for information from real life sources. The music in the forest. An American couple, Larry and June Adams, were sitting in the courtyard of the Simla Forest Hotel Art of India. Larry, the husband, was in India because he wanted to kill a tiger. He wanted to hunt his dead. See the head of the well of this house in New Jersey. His friend had the head of a cougar on his wall, but the tigers are more dangerous than the kangaroos. Don that wanted to show his friend that he was not afraid of dangerous animals, and thus left the hotel every day with his weapon to look for the prey, but around a tiger in the forest. Mr. Lal, who was the owner of the hotel, to Larry that the animals on the forest do need to see him know that there, and they know that they want to hurt. You since the forest communicates with the animals warning that of people who want to harm them, and in the turn the forest is capable of doing terrible things to people with the intention of harming animals. Larry did not believe the story of Mr. Lal, but that night he could not sleep for all of they had been told, a terrifying dream in which the animals of the forest dragged him from his room, harming his son. The next day he decided to leave India without needing to do harm any animal. Moral: animals are living beings and people have no right to kill them as a hobby. The detective. Peter is an arrogant and ambitious person, and when people asked him what he worked for, he was a private detective, but in reality he was a guard of a supermarket. He was used he was used to that many times young people will try to steal CDs or musical cassette. He stayed alert. One day, an old man entered to the store and stood in front of the expensive wing. She was very suspicious, since it was very hot day, and he was dressed in a long antique coat. So Peter thought he would try to steal merchandise hidden in his coat. Suddenly, a girl came to the supermarket and fairly took a tip packet and put in her pocket. So Peter thought that girl was stealing from the store and immediately took the wig manager and he told her to empty his pockets. Evidently, the girl had a tip packet in your pocket, but this package had been purchased at very different store for what belonged to him. Peter realized that he made a big mistake. Because of fixing the misunderstanding, the girl left to the store and outside a car was waiting for him when he got up. She had a coat and had several pockets full of expensive food and wines that she had stolen from the store, since she used her grandfather as a direction for the detective. Moral: arrogancy is not a good virtue, since sooner or later we receive a warning. The restaurant. Clive Gordon was the owner of a small hotel by the sea called the Flower Garden. His wife had died several years before, and now he lived in a hotel with his 14 years old daughter Karen. One day, Clive received a call from his friend Marcos, who informed him that the inspector of the gate of the good restaurant will be beside the hotel and some time of that day, so it had to be well taken care of so that the name of this hotel was published and because popular. Clive was very skilled in the kitchen, but he did not like the work hard, so his daughter spent much of this time in the kitchen every day of the week. That day of the inspection came a very well-dressed and good-looking man. Immediately, Clive assumed it was the inspector, and to later suddenly become a new customer. Was a lady grey hair and blue eyes, did not look important. Clive neglected that lady for trying the best way to that man. He looked elegant, but it turns out that the true inspector was the blue-eyed lady who knew how to say the food in restaurant is good, but the treatment she gave to, to her daughter who worked was not correct, so she called no publisher her hotel as a recommended place. Moral: when a person puts enthusiasm in their work, sooner or later they will be rewarded.